Now, last week, a landmark sex discrimination case was won by two men. Until a few years ago, they worked for the top London advertising agency, JWT. In 2018, the firm was found to have a 45% gender pay gap, and its creative director gave a speech saying the agency's reputation as lacking in diversity had to be obliterated. That worried some white, middle-aged and male executives, so they raised concerns about their job security. Two of those executives, Bayfield and Dave Jenner, were later made redundant. Last week, they won their case against the firm's successor company, Wunderman Thompson, successfully arguing they'd been the victims of sex discrimination and had been unfairly dismissed. Earlier, I spoke to the creative director, Jo Wallace, who made the original speech. I asked her if she had any sympathy for the men who'd been worried by what she'd said.
The wording that I use, let's be clear that to obliterate something is to change something and to get rid of something. And I think I was certainly not alone in wanting to change the reputation. And let's be really clear that it was about the reputation that JWT had. It wasn't aimed at anyone in particular. It wasn't about suddenly changing who worked for JWT. It was about moving forwards. This is something that the world has recognised needs to shift, and let's kind of try to do that.
But I mean, obliterating isn't just change, is it? It is to utterly destroy. And you can see why a man listening to that might think, there's a target on my back.
Well, I mean, I can understand that they may have been worried if they took it the wrong way, out of context, having not actually been present at the talk. And no one should ever feel at risk or as though there's a target on their back for certain. I mean, in truth, the statistics around this currently don't show any sense of an indiscriminate diversity drive. No one is trying to take anything away from anybody, and certainly not me. Marginalised groups simply deserve to be added into the equation, and the rate of change shouldn't have any men feeling that there's a target on their back or that they're at risk, because in reality, the current rate of change means that women will receive equal pay in at least 100 years. So I don't think it's too fast.
Just give me a sense of some of the coverage of this and the impact that that's had on your life.
It's had a massive impact on my life. I haven't slept for several days. I've had death threats. I've been plastered all over the media in bikinis. I mean, why? They felt the need to show me wearing a bikini. I had nothing to do with this case. I had nothing to do with the decision to make them redundant. Me wearing a bikini is clearly an attempt to just take me down and embarrass me in public. So it's been incredibly distressful, to be honest.
I should point out that a lawyer for the two men concerned says that they don't in any way condone the media targeting of you. Is that some comfort to you?
Not really, because at the same time, there's many people that have been misinformed by that same media, and those people won't be reading or potentially watching this interview, and they still are making comments about me. This still affects my reputation in the industry and potentially my career. So what does this tell women that are already underrepresented in this industry? Why would you want to go into this industry when you see myself being treated like this?
Is there a sense, though, that the balance has tipped recently because of the drive for diversity, that women are being promoted at the expense of men, and that that's got out of kilter, as Bayfield and Jenner said? I mean, they say they believe women should have a fair chance.
Well, I think we have to return to the statistics, which are certainly not growing at a high rate. So still, women only account for 17% of creative directors. I don't really see that this is out of kilter.
You don't think white men should be fearful for their jobs in the creative industry?
No, as I said previously, nobody should feel at risk, but the rate of change is certainly nothing that anybody should be afraid of, because, as is also widely known, the industry talks about diversity and inclusion far more than it actually actions it. So I would love to see this evidence of women being promoted over men, because the recent hires to C-suite jobs that I'm aware of are all men.
I just want to read you a quote that one of the men, Chas Bayfield, gave to the Mail. He said, "There's a part of me that feels guilty that these laws that were put in place to protect minorities in the workplace, as they should be, have protected a couple of middle-aged, straight British men. I definitely agreed that there had to be a way to address the diversity issues, but I don't think it was gone about the right way. I remember feeling like I just had a target on my back. I remember thinking if I was a black 24-year-old woman, I'd be fine. If I'd been gay, even better." What's your response to that?
Well, I feel sorry for him, the fact that he felt he had a target on his back, and I can massively relate to that right now, given all the coverage about myself. In terms of being better off had he been a black young woman and a gay one at that, I think we just return to statistics, because they show that if he had in fact been that, he probably would never have even been given an opportunity to begin his career.
Stepping back, would you give that very same speech and use that very same word, obliterated, all over again now or not?
Well, as I said before, it was completely separate to the decision to make those men redundant. I wasn't aware of that decision being made. I was speaking at an event that was very much focused and in context. So I stand by the fact that I was raising concern about a very well-known issue in the industry and beyond.
Jo Wallace, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
JWT's successor company, Wunderman Thompson, told us they will be appealing the ruling and that they're committed to providing an inclusive workplace in which everyone is treated fairly.